Everything we do leaves a mark. Out here, we're lucky to walk among such ancient ridges, and we do our best to preserve these untamed wilds. I'm grateful that a seasoned hunter like yourself comes all the way here to support our efforts. My name's Trevor Locke. We talked on the phone. I'm very excited to get to know each other at last. You have no idea how many stories I've heard about you. Feel free to explore the reserve by yourself, and I'll be there if needed. Welcome to New England Mountains. How was your trip? I imagine the ride here was a little bumpy, right? Yeah, around here we like it remote and rugged. Before you head out, take the time to figure out your gear and equipment if you need to. You'll want to be well prepared for all kinds of environment or weather. This is New England after all. First things first, as I'm sure you know, resting is key. I'd recommend locating the nearest outpost and opening it. There. I just sent the coordinates to your hunter mate, just in case. My hope is to make this reserve an inclusive place for people not just to hunt, but also to experience a genuine adventure. Something that will take them off the beaten path, you know? So many people go through life without ever experiencing the true outdoors, and I believe access to nature should be a human right. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. I'll be in touch once you're at the outpost. You'll see. You can't miss it. Nice. That outpost is one of the more recent ones. Don't get too used to all the modern comfort, especially if you plan on hiking in high altitude or in the valleys in the north. Oh, by the way, I took the liberty of leaving a backpack for you there. Feel free to use it, in case you're interested in helping out around the reserve. Of course, we compensate hunters for their contributions, so make sure to check out any other notice boards you come across. They're usually near outposts. Thanks to this system, hunters can help keep this place in tip-top shape, and they get to choose when and how they help out. One last thing. I suggest you go to the nearest lookout tower. It's north of your current location. It'll help you orient yourself and give you a good overview over the valley. I gotta say, your reputation precedes you. I was thrilled when I saw your name among the applicants for this year's competition. There's this other warden who only had good things to say about your ethics and expertise. Since I trust his judgment 100%, I trust you too. Which reminds me, I have a surprise guest for you. An old friend of yours. You'll find out soon enough, I promise. He should be on his way here right now. Once he's arrived, I'll get you two reacquainted. This valley is an amazing all-round hunting area, both for new and pro hunters. Rivers, lakes, uplands, forests, mountains. There's lots of different biomes and all kinds of game. Pro tip, if you need to get your bearings, try to find lookouts when you're out exploring. They're scattered all across the reserve. I can't wait to introduce you to my little slice of paradise. And I can only encourage you to wander off and discover the reserve on your own. if you're good to go, I have a mission of the utmost importance for you. I need someone I can trust to collect maple syrup. You heard me right. Maple syrup. Should you choose to accept this mission, I shall share my best-kept secret with you. My favorite maple syrup spot. More details will be shared with you in due course. Your objective? An area located near the river flowing east to west, right between the mountain ranges. I've marked it on your hunter mate. Godspeed. I'm sure you think it's weird that I'm asking you to pick up maple syrup. I know. Talk about New England cliché. While we're on the topic of cliches, did you know the white-tailed deer is one of New Hampshire's living insignia? It's also one of our most popular species among hunters. So, if you like hunting white-tailed deer, feel free to take part in our challenge. Can't wait to see you in action. I've been walking in wilderness as long as I can remember. Me and my father, we basically lived outdoors. I'd get to know every species, every specimen. Learn what they eat, where they sleep, how they feel. At the end of the day, you gotta respect all creatures, especially the ones you hunt. The first time I came here, I was 19. I worked here as a seasonal ranger one summer, and I just fell in love with the place. I was lucky they offered me a full-time job as a ranger. Flash forward 20 years and I'm head warden. Funny how life can be sometimes. I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest. I was born and raised in the Layton Lake District Reserve. Rings a bell? Yep, exactly. That same reserve you visited back then. This probably gives you a big clue as to who my surprise guest is. Fair warning, though. He can be a little gruff and reserved. Unless you get him started on black bears or unethical hunters, then he won't shut up.
That would probably
His name?
be Doc.
Carlton Locke, a.k.a. my old man. Everyone always calls him Doc. Even my mom. I never understood why. Oh, you're there. Great job, Agent. Our teams have a nickname for that location, the Maple Spot. I realize this might be dangerous, but your next mission is to collect the maple syrup buckets. You'll spot them easily. They're metal buckets hanging on maple trees. Good luck out there. Thank you. Know that I appreciate your efforts. There's one last thing we need to... Sorry, I can't keep a straight face anymore. Here's the reason. We're preparing souvenirs for all participants as a thank you for all their contributions to supporting the reserve. That way everyone goes home with a little taste of New England. That's all. If you don't mind, could you drop it off at the nearest outpost? Let me see. Okay, there's one in that valley. Just follow the river west. You would really be doing me a solid. By the way, I have another very important request for you. Hikers have reported spotting wood devils in the reserve lately. Which is strange, because no one in this area has seen one for years. There used to be a lot more of them in these forests, I heard. They're quite elusive, so only an expert tracker like you might be able to spot one. If you do, make sure you take a photo. I'll need it for my next video. I count on you. Good. Thanks a lot. I'll have Holly pick them up when she's back from Nashua. Sorry, I don't usually ask visitors to help with regular warden tasks, but we're short-staffed this week. All right. There's one last thing that you need to know about wood devils. One of their main characteristics, in fact. They're utterly and totally made up. It's a small prank we like to play on newcomers. I make sure to come clean after a short while, though. Don't want to waste anyone's time. It's basically the New England version of the Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Some people claim they saw one, especially in the 19th and 20th centuries, but there hasn't been any scientific evidence. There's always a small chance it could be an undiscovered species, but it's pretty unlikely if you ask me. Many of our visitors love local myths and folklore, and so do I. It's a great way to share cool stories about my second home.
Hello, is this thing working? Can you hear me? Doc here. How are things, old friend? My son Trevor told you I was visiting, right? Haven't been here in years. Last time, Trev was so proud to show me around, and we found some peaceful remote spots we loved. Sorry, I don't remember where they are exactly. We took a few photos back then, and I sent them in the mail a few days ago. I think Trev left the pictures at an outpost for you, in case you'd like to check out those spots for yourself.
Doc is back. He's in Layton Lakes, if you didn't know.
This reserve is something else. I get why Trevor chose to settle down here. Me, Layton Lake is where I've lived my whole life, and that's where I'll finish my days, that's for sure. Not much has changed since your last visit, which is a good thing in my book. Hope's still the same, still off the grid and all. Once in a while we have a drink or two at his camp. Me? Same old, same old. Layton's always keeping me busy. I gotta say, I wish every hunter was more like you. Feels like all I do is go through the basics with rookies. It's vital that if you injure an animal, you find it and do not allow it to suffer. I feel like a broken record sometimes. I'm sure even Trev heard me say that over and over. I wanted to fax you the pictures, but, they don't use those anymore. It's a shame. Fax machines are a lot more reliable than all the new devices that young people use these days. Even if the power goes off, the recipient
will always receive their copy? Smudges included?
Oh, hey, Trev. How's it going, son? I was just telling our friend about the pictures of our favorite spots.
I'll need to see those photos too. I didn't have the beard then, but you had the handlebar stash, of course.
I hope you can make time to go hunting with your old man. What do you think?
Sure, of course. It's a very busy time with the video, the reserve, and home stuff too, but I'll make time.
Good. You know, I know how it is, so don't worry about me if it doesn't work out. New England has a fascinating history. Hunting was very different in the early 19th century, too. Back then, they had to hunt to feed their families.
Yeah, people would hunt with muzzle loaders or bows. I have an idea. Maybe we should try that out if you're up for it. Hunting like in the olden days.
Read they built a lot of them in New England during the 19th century in order to replace the old wooden bridges with something a little steadier. Just looking at it, you can tell the experience and preserve that went into cutting these stones. The stones all had to fit perfectly to make the bridge stable. No wonder these bridges have been recognized as a historic civil engineering landmark in New England. Trev and I were on a long hike a few years ago and took a break there. It's a small upland lake with the mountain ridge in the distance. It's one of the many views that made him fall in love with this region and convicted him to take a full-time job here. If I remember correctly, that place also has a personal significance for him and Sam. This bridge was called Long Bridge. If I remember correctly, it's one of the more spectacular views on that scenic railroad they have here. Trev convinced me to go on that 20 years ago, but I must say I prefer the view from down here looking up towards the bridge, away from all the noise, you know.
Good that you found the pictures. That's my little present for you. Believe me, those places are worth the detour. So let me know what you think.
A few good fishing spots.
I'm really happy you came to visit, Dad. Can you believe the last time you were here was, what, 7, 8 years ago?
You can't really take a vacation when you're a warden. At least we meet up every year at Christmas. Better than nothing.
How long are you staying, by the way? Hopefully more than a couple days this time?
I don't know. It's hunting season over at Layton too, so I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's no shortage of Baddens in every reserve, so you always got to keep an eye on them.
That pier is located on one of the largest lakes in the reserve, I think, so it's home to many fish species, and even more importantly,
I have another favor to ask of you, and you're the one whose expertise I trust the most, my friend. I'll compensate you fairly for your efforts, of course. I would need you to take a picture of a carcass left behind by a red fox. There's this particular need zone I know of, that way you don't have to look around for ages. Just a second. Let me send the info to your hunter mate. Thanks for your help.
It's quiet. When Treb brought me here for the first time, I was pleased to see he clearly knew what I like and what I don't like. Can't remember how the lake was called. Though. I think it was named after a famous writer or painter from New England.
That photo, is that for the talk you'll be giving on predators in Boston, Trev?
Yeah, exactly. I have this section on red foxes. I'm going for something easy and accessible, so I'm describing their behavior, eating habits, impact on ecosystems, stuff like that.
Yeah, you can learn a lot about the red fox just by studying the carcasses it leaves behind. And a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Like a few places out here. Okay.
I should tell you more about the bi-yearly hunting competitions that are ongoing in New England mountains. That's one of the reasons you're here, right? They're more challenges than competitions per se. There's a wide selection of them you can take part in at any time, skill shooting, weight challenges, among others. Since our challenges are quite popular, the admission fees are important to support our teams of rangers, researchers, etc.
I guess that's how you're maintaining a healthy animal stock then. So how do you go about preventing overhunting?
We screen participants carefully, and we try to foster a culture we call add more than you take out. That's why we have the notice boards. Hunters are encouraged to carry out as many good deeds on the reserve as animals they've hunted. It's on their own terms. They choose what they want to do and when.
It's a good system, as long as it does its job. Make people aware of their impact on nature. How's it going with your hunting videos on the web? You still doing those?
Yeah, you bet. It's awesome being able to reach people all around the world and introduce them to hunting, wildlife conservation, environmental threats.
It's impressive that you're still able to put so much energy into it. I wouldn't be able to do that on top of my responsibilities as a warden.
The way I see it, there are two sides of the same coin. I can't live in my own little bubble and hope for the best. I love sharing what I know, and I listen to people in return. That's the best I can do. Bad news. One of the farmers in the south just called. They've been seeing a bear roaming around their farm. Understandably, they're worried.
$5 says that some tourists have left behind some food and trash. I get that at least once a month at Layton.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Someone has to go pick up all the leftovers, but also be watchful for bears. They tend to be aggressive when they're hungry.
Could you take care of that old friend? Remember that this could be dangerous, so make sure you're ready.
Speaking of food, Dad, there's moose stew on the menu tonight with wild berries and cranberry sauce on the side. Hunted and cooked by yours truly.
Nice. Just like back home. Hey, how's Sam, by the way? How are things at the hospital?
It was really tough at a few points, but it's better now. We're also making good progress on the house. We're almost done with the structural works.
That's good to hear that you're able to catch a break. Maybe next year it's your turn to come over to Layton during hunting season.
Maybe. We'll see what we can do. A lot of things are up in the air right now. More trash. I can't say I'm surprised. Good news is, once you've cleaned up that mess, the farms should be safe again.
Yeah, those who don't clean up after themselves, sometimes they're the same who complain about pollution and talk about how things used to be better. Go figure.
Thank you very much. You've really helped. What? A bear? All right, don't panic. Find a way to carefully get away from it. If it becomes aggressive, you can also go for the kill.
It's up to you. Remember, you're more than experienced enough to handle it. Evaluate the situation and the bear, and make the right call. Well done. I'm relieved we sent you on that assignment. Bear encounters can quickly escalate if you don't know what you're doing.
Me too. I had a feeling. Anyway, you want to get rid of those food leftovers as soon as possible. Just drop them off at a nearby outpost and we'll take care of it.
So, Trev, Hope and I were talking about you the other day. Like I told him, I sometimes wish you didn't live on the other side of the country. Don't you miss home?
Home. It's a fuzzy concept for me. You always have the one. Layton will always be my home, but this is my second home. I'm closing in on 20 years, and I'm happy here. There's no such thing as coming back in a situation like mine, not after so long. It's not like my old Layton life is still there waiting for me. I'd still need to start over from scratch.
I understand, I really do. I'm just worried about the reserve. I can't find anyone good enough to take over. I want to get that sorted out myself soon. You never know.
You know, Dad, regular people just say, I wish you'd call more often. I miss hanging out with you, son. But you're right. I haven't called enough, and I'm sorry.
Well, you have a good point. We both know that being a warden isn't really a job you can do remotely.
And then life happens, and you procrastinate. But tell you what, you're almost here. We'll have a good time then. Sometimes the biggest threat to an environment isn't the most obvious one. In the last few years, for us, it's been an invasive plant species called perennial pepperweed.
I know that one. Tough bastard. Native to Eurasia. Introduced to North America by accident. It's become a pest all over the country.
Yeah, some areas of the reserve are affected now too, so we're recruiting volunteers to manually remove them. Better do that now before the populations become too large. Can I count on you too, my friend? I'll make it worth your time. I've tagged the most affected areas on your hunter mate. It may not sound like a very glamorous task, but believe me, invasive plants tend to suppress native species. Studies show that without proper control, they reduce natural diversity, wildlife habitat, even water quality.
Yeah, I've seen the damage the perennial pepperweed can do. It's highly competitive and very good at adapting to a wide variety of factors and soils.
Our state agencies have been coordinating local efforts, and we've been trying to educate the population.
I get it. It can be hard for the layman to grasp. How can your own little patch of land cause major stress to the whole ecosystem? That reminds me. I went on the internet the other day and I watched that video you made on invasive species. Well, it was really well made and very clear. Good job.
Oh, you did? Well, that means a lot. Thanks. Glad you found the button for the internet. Awesome. Do you know what they look like? Tall, branching plants with white flower heads. Just make sure you remove the whole plant when you pull it out. Good. There's one more area that's badly affected, so check your hunter mate to know where to go next. Thanks. Well now, speaking of invasive species... Hey, Dad! Sorry, my father just arrived. I'll call you later.
You know, on the way here I saw that railroad and I was thinking, did you get a chance to visit some of the landmarks here, old friend?
Good idea, Dad. There, I've just sent you their locations. If you find one during your exploration, I'm happy to share some of our fascinating history. This is the last area with high pest density. After that, we should be good to go. Really good stuff. If we do the work, we can make a difference. Even if all we do is pull some weeds.
Sometimes we harm nature whenever we're ignorant, negligent, or worse, selfish. Everything we do leaves a mark, I always say.
That sounds familiar. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. Anyway, I'm lucky I can count on volunteers such as you, my friend. You've really come through for us again. Actually, I don't have any more urgent tasks for you. But my father and I had an idea as a thank you for everything you've done.
Not just what you done here in this reserve, but also back in Layton. So here it is. There's this spot we'd like to show you.
It's a very special site for our family, and you of all people deserve to see it. It's quite the trek, but if you're up for it, we'll both keep you company on the radio.
Listen, son, well, don't get me wrong. I don't mean to evaluate your skills as a warden or anything. You don't need it. I just want to say you're doing really good work here, Trev. Excellent, even. I mean, it's obvious you love this place and you take care of it. Plus, you do all that extra work on the internet. Anyway, I just keep doing what you're doing out here, and I know you'll do just fine.
Wow, I was not ready for this. Did you write up that little speech in the car? Jokes aside, I love sharing what people like us care about, passing along what I learned. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot. More than you realize.
That's good. I'm glad, son. Hey, you got any coffee left for me? I could use a refill.
The camp, the view isn't anything special, but my father and I built it together ages ago. Remember?
Of course I remember. It was your first year here. That whole area to the north is like far off and demanding, and we're both getting tired. So we decided to set up camp for the night. When I saw you building it, I remember thinking, that's it, Colton. He's not a kid anymore. When you're a parent, you always think you have all the time in the world with your kids, but you don't. You try to juggle work, your kids' homework, and everything else, and the next day, bam, you wake up and they're moving out and starting their own life.
Juggling work and the rest every day. It's like, I'll do that tomorrow, or give your old man a call. I'm starting to understand how tough that must have been for you. Me too. I always say I'm too busy, and I don't even have kids yet.
When you were a kid, sometimes you'd get mad at me for not taking the time to play with you. And I hated seeing you like that.
I have some news to share, actually, Dad. I've been dying to tell you, but it was face-to-face kind of news. You're going to be a grandpa. Sam and I are having a baby daughter.
Really? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Ha! Congratulations. Really, I am so happy for you two. That is, oh, wow. Oh, when's the due date?
End of February. Thank you so much. Now do you get why I kept nagging you about coming over?
You're almost at the camp. I can't believe that camp still exists. I remember Trev and I had a good talk the night we built it. We talked a little bit about your mom. Remember, Trev? You know, about back home.
I've been going back and fixing it up every now and then. That way hunters can use it if they need to. That camp is for people like you, my friend. Thank you for being there for our family. Let me know if you need any help during your stay, and I'll be in touch. Tell you what, Dad. How about you and I go and hike to the camp in a few days and spend a couple nights there? I'll show you how it's done over here.
Deal. Maybe in a few years, if I'm not too rusty, we'll all go. We'll show your daughter the ropes.
You got it. You hungry? Come on. The stew's ready. Awesome. You're sure living up to your reputation. Come to think of it, my very first hunt on this reserve was also a white-tailed deer.